What stopped you from pursuing the career you wanted when you were a kid? Depends which one. At age 4, I wanted to be a bricklayer, because it seemed easy. Knowing myself nowadays, it would have been an extremely poor choice. I would have been bored to death and physically exhausted. From age 8, I wanted to be a comic book artist. That was my dream for a very, very long time. Or at least an illustrator or something. But I lacked the talent and most of all the perseverance to get into art school. Wouldn't have suited me anyway, all that freelancing and working your ass off for next to no money. Went another path and got a steady job that is far better for me anyway. I wanted to be a neonatal surgeon. I was in track for it and halfway through school when stupid me thought I fell in love, but he didn't want to be married to a doctor. He was a controlling narcissist. I dropped out of school and had 5 kids in 6 years. Divorced, and now I'm all consumed with working and providing for them. I will never be able to complete my dreams. I now have a debilitating physical illness that precludes me from being able to complete medical school. If I'd done it when I was young, I could have had an amazing career. I try not to be bitter, but I'm a little. I wanted to be an elementary or a middle school teacher since I was very young until my teens. Always loved kids, babysitting, tutoring, etc. My mom, who was a preschool and kindergarten teacher, aka the person who inspired me to be a teacher, told me to really think about it, because obviously of how horrible the work-life balance is, low income, high stress, not treated properly and so much more. Seeing how hard my teachers work and try but also how little they receive back and treated made me realize that I won't be able to handle being a teacher. In my teens, I was good at drawing comics and such. There was an animation program at a college near that's what I wanted to get into. Then my dad accepted a transfer to a city way too far away. Many of the graduates of that program found work at Disney, Pixar and DreamWorks. There was another program at a different college for explosives technician. These guys make a fortune in mining and road construction. I decided to pass on that, because in a lot of situations I had made a mistake. And in that field, you only get one. Lack of confidence in myself. I wanted to be an anesthesiologist. My mom said, "You'll change your mind when you take organic chemistry." My older brother had failed it, so the implication was that if he couldn't pass it I couldn't either. So I didn't pursue it. I really regret it. I do not have kids, but with my nieces and nephews I never discourage their dreams. If they say they want to go follow a difficult career path, I tell them they can do it. It will require hard work, but they are absolutely capable of accomplishing it. At one point I really wanted to be a veterinarian. Aside from the fact that I am not a very good science student, I watched a video once with a vet who was elbow deep in a horse's ass. Now I know now, logically, I wouldn't have had to do that as well. I also know now, logically, I could refuse potential clients. I also know now, logically, that the statistical likelihood of me needing to deconstipate a horse would be very low. But what I also know is that back then, I no longer had any interest in becoming a vet. There never was one. Grew up depressed. Earliest memories still involve liking nothing and wishing I was dead. I think at one point I wanted to be a robot so I wouldn't have an organic body, if that counts. I'm an X-ray tech right now, and it's a weird juxtaposition seeing people who have it so much worse clinging to and fighting for life when I've never had the desire myself. Hasn't done anything to snap me out of it, of course. I still wake up every day wishing I was dead instead of going into work. As someone who still doesn't know what they want to do, I used to want to be a vet. But after being in college and seeing that it's harder to get into than med school, I didn't really want to. Not that I couldn't, but I'm already behind on some things. I have also volunteered at an animal shelter for years and I don't want to see the animals hurt, though I like helping them. Same reason I don't want to be a doctor, BC. I don't want to hurt PPL even if it's for the greater good in the future. At one point I wanted to be an architect. For my school's work experience week, I managed to get a placement in a large commercial architecture firm. All I did all week was copy drawings. It bored me so much that I never wanted to see the inside of an architecture office ever again. I did very well at school and my marks were good enough to become a doctor. However, I got so tired of my family's constant assumption and expectation that I would do that I did something else instead. Wanted to be a surgeon. Didn't happen because of a very unstable home life. Was out of my family home at 15, so bad it was, which caused me to fluke in school and not being able to learn for it. But I was never gonna end up a surgeon. Not because I wouldn't be able to get through schooling, but because no matter how often I deal with wounds and blood, I start gagging, retching on the sight of blood, and if the wound looks even slightly bad I'll be out on the floor in no time. Smiley face. COVID-19. When I was in year 7-8 I was acing every test, above 95, I loved school and was good at it. Lockdown happened when I was in year 9 and I could not focus at all when working at home. It had always been that way, which is why I'd have to do homework in the school library. When I went back to school in year 11 I could barely keep up. I went from predicted 9s to my best grade being a 7. I then couldn't get onto the college course I wanted and gave up completely. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a firefighter, race car driver, or veterinarian. I couldn't handle high heat until last year, so that was a no to becoming a firefighter. The odds of becoming a race car driver are already very slim. And as for why I didn't become a vet, I just ended up changing my mind a bunch of times and tried to get into the medical field as a respiratory therapist, then an EKG technician. Neither of those worked out, either. Wanted to be a doctor, but in my first year of college I was assaulted. From there, I didn't attend classes regularly and failed out. It was also a very conservative town and about 14 years ago, and they didn't believe me as a victim. I ended up going home and working random part-time jobs for a couple of years before getting sucked into my current workplace. I'm a business analyst now. Pretty decent money, but wasn't always easy getting here. I wanted to be a teacher. My parents were both teachers. My mom got permission from her principal and let me job shadow her for a week right before I started college. At the end of the week I no longer wanted to be a teacher. Now I have a degree in psychology, spent the last 2 years working with dementia patients, and now I work with people recovering from substance abuse. It's much less stressful than teaching would have been. I didn't have enough money for a physics degree, so I decided to get 3 jobs and save money for it, but then I ended up addicted to acting, so once I had enough money for school, I got an acting degree and became a TV actor instead. Unfortunately, there's no money in acting and I'm now poor and looking for a new career. One that actually pays. I had a ton of fun, though I would definitely still be doing it if I could afford it. I loved flying and really wanted to be a flight attendant. I was very strongly discouraged as a guy to do this. Instead my family wanted me to pursue more manly occupations. I went to school for it so much, graduated, worked for a few years. Now landed a decent job, but I think I would have made a kick-ass flight attendant and would have been happy as hell. I think about this a lot. I wanted to work at either the biggest theme park where I live or at Walt Disney Imagineering, but the theme park sector overall. I couldn't work at the first due to travel distance. I gave up on becoming an Imagineer because it's simply unrealistic. And the one job I applied to for a smaller theme park told me turned me down. Found another job in the meantime, so I'll keep doing that for the time being. My late mom. She told me that I'd have to live at home and look after her for the rest of her life and do all of the housework and never marry and never do anything but take care of her and the rest of the family, cause it was all about them and getting checks for them all, cause she decided she wasn't gonna do anything else anymore. And I am still here today. I wanted to be an LPN for the record. Everyone said I can't do it because I am not smart enough. I wanted to be an archaeologist, now I am a bartender. Life would be better surrounding by ancient things and I wasn't so bad in history. If I could graduate, I still can be an archaeologist, but it feels like I am late because I am 29 and I need like 8 years of studying for get a degree in archaeology, since I wasn't finished high school. Reality. I was half in and half out of pursuing medicine and was at a place a little later in life where I didn't want to commit the long 12-year journey to medicine because I only wanted to do it if I could get into surgery. That in itself is a very difficult task to achieve, and I feel as though I was more interested in the idea of medicine and wasn't ready for the hard road ahead. In high school, my mom was pushing me toward the medical field. I decided I wanted to be a physical therapist. She then told me that physical therapists have to hurt people and sometimes those people are little kids. I was horrified and dropped the idea immediately. I'm still not sure if she really believed that, or why she said it. And I'm still pissed that I didn't become a PT. It's so expensive to sing. I eventually gave up. Ohio is really hard to get exposure in, so I had to travel a lot, and with my mom having so many kids it was hard to find the time and money to make it happen. I posted videos online often and stuff, but even that was hard with poop cameras and people talking in the background. Wish more than ever I could have done that. Lack of parental support, bad public education, teachers who downright bullied me, resulting teenage depression and early adulthood apathy, never seeking higher education. Lack of resources also played a role, both monetarily and socially. I don't have a safety nets to try something and fail, I never have. I've had to play it safe my whole life and keep my head down. Slacking off for 4 years starting as a junior in high school. Didn't get into medical school. starting junior year in college and throughout grad school, never left the library. Boring, asocial life, but eventually got in, having garnered a 3.8 GPA. But even then, only got into one school as a regular admit and one from the wait list, having applied to about 20. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a Shamu trainer. Then I changed to a dolphin trainer. Then I realized everyone wanted to do that, so I decided I would work with sharks. I live in the desert. I did not work at SeaWorld, but I did work in the zoo with some sharks, but what prevented me from staying was the horrible pay, all the human backstabbing, and no benefits. Animal cruelty stopped me. I wanted to be a whale trainer lol. Then in high school I wanted to study and save the animals, so I wanted to study zoology. Come to find they don't make good money either, and I'm not going to take out a bunch of student loans to make shit pay with a bachelor's or master's degree in zoology. And PhD is not something I want to pursue, so I wanted to be a forensic or clinical psychologist, but my dad did not want me to. He said that I wouldn't been able to get a job. I did take another degree, but no, I'm still looking for a job related to my degree, and I have really bad depression and regret at not following my dreams every day. I cannot pursue my dream because I don't have money for it. Discouragement and scorn heaped on me from teachers, my mother, and my mother's unemployed loser boyfriends. I wanted to be a songwriter like Diane Warren, but I got no good, no talent. You're not great at music right away, so you suck, it's a waste of time and money, blah 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 from all of those adults. Now that I'm grown and know better, fuck them.